Hey, you guys, Erin here. I am back with another moon update for you. Today, I'm going to be talking about the first full moon of 2024. This is taking place on January 25th. That's a Thursday. It peaks at 9:54 a.m. Pacific time. And this comes through the sign of Leo, 5 degrees Leo, definitely one of my favorite zodiac signs. So you guys know the routine. This is the peak of a growth cycle, okay? A growth cycle that began approximately 6 months ago when we had a new moon in the sign of Leo. Over these 6 months, we've all been experiencing this opportunity for growth that's related to the sign of Leo. This is a time to honor that growth, okay? This is also a time to be thinking about potentially picking up some Leo energy that is not serving you, because as soon as this moon begins to wane, and what I mean by that, the moon, she's in her fullest form at 9:54 a.m. Pacific time on January 25th. Okay. As by 9:55, the moon's starting to get smaller. That's when we want to let go of any Leo energy, again, that may not be serving us. Okay. So what I'm going to do in this recording is I'm going to break down the sign of Leo for you, so you really know what you're working with here. I'm also going to be pulling up the chart and showing you some other prominent astrological forces we are currently receiving. If you follow astrology at all, you know that there's some very powerful energies coming through as of late. But there's one transit in particular that I want to point out that for some people, certainly not everybody, but for some people could definitely be creating some like mental frustrations. Okay. There's something going on between Mars and Mercury that's what I want to point out. So I will also be mentioning some ways to potentially remedy that. Okay. Remedy the mental frustrations. But I'm also going to be talking about certain parts of the body that are ruled by the sign of Leo, because these parts of our body become more sensitive anytime the moon transits through the sign of Leo. But it's most prominent when it's a full moon or a new moon in the sign of Leo. So to be clear, just so everybody understands, the moon goes around the whole zodiac every single month. She goes through every single zodiac sign every single month. So of course she goes through the sign of Leo every month. But it's, again, most prominent when it's a new or a full moon in that zodiac sign. So it's a good idea to pay a little extra attention to these parts of our body during this lunar transit. And Leo definitely rules some important parts of the body. So of course, I'll be mentioning some potential herbal remedies to help support these parts of our body. And I will also be talking about gemstones that resonate well with the sign of Leo. You guys, if you've been following me for any length of time, you know how it works. I take a few gemstones that resonate well with the sign the moon is transiting through, and I put them on top of my journal. I write down in my journal the growth that I'm grateful for that's related to the zodiac sign the moon's transiting through, and I write down what I want to let go of, and then I put those gemstones on top of my journal. I put that journal up on a windowsill so that when the moon transits by, it's like all those words that I just spelled out, the spells that I'm casting, are making a stronger connection with those lunar forces. Okay, so there's that. Now, you can always find a full extensive list in the description of my YouTube videos of gemstones that resonate well with the sign the moon is transiting through, 20 or 30 stones. But please do not feel like you are missing out on something if you don't have any of these gemstones. We work with what we've got. Okay, and another thing to mention here is that if you're familiar with your natal chart at all, you can pull that out and look to see where the sign of Leo comes through your natal chart. Which house in your natal chart does the sign of Leo rule? It could be coming through your house of communication, your house of finances, your house of career, your house of relationships, your house of physical health, your house of karma, all these different areas of your life. It has to be coming through somewhere. We all have the sign of Leo somewhere in our natal chart. Even if you don't have any planets in the sign of Leo, it's got to be somewhere in there. Okay, so when we get familiar with our charts, we can see where anything astrological is manifesting for us specifically. Okay, now if you've had a reading with me, you can always go back to the video recording and review it to see which area of your life this is really activating. And you know, another thing to think about here as well, if you have anything in your natal chart, whether it be a planet or any kind of celestial body or any kind of, you know, a midpoint or anything like that, that's near 5 degrees Leo, this might be an extra powerful full moon for you. But I will say this, if that's too much for you, you know, of course, not everybody's got time to sit down and study their natal chart. That's perfectly okay. We literally just take a step back and focus on this sign of Leo in and of itself. And if you are trying to study astrology, if you are trying to get familiar with your natal chart, then bravo, first of all, but just take things in baby steps. Because I actually help a lot of people. I love teaching astrology. It's probably my favorite thing to do is to teach it. But I have certain clients that are really just trying to understand how this works themselves. And I can see that they get frustrated sometimes because it's a complex topic, no doubt. But it's also incredibly empowering when we do get familiar with our natal charts and understand the way that transits work. Okay, so there's that. And if you'd like to schedule a reading, you can schedule straight through my website, erinwageastrology.com. All right, so let's get through this. The sign of Leo is what we call the fixed fire sign. Okay, now when I say fixed, what I'm talking about is this ability to do things in a steadfast way, like get into a rhythm and stick with it with consistency. Okay, but it's in this element of fire. All the fire signs are very strongly associated with energy. Okay, what's interesting about this fixed fire, all right, when we talk about the other fire signs, Sagittarius and Aries. All right, Aries is the cardinal fire sign. Cardinal meaning it has force. Not only that, but Aries rules the top of the head. So the energy basically goes flying out through the top of the head. And a lot of Aries can have a very strong tendency to overexert themselves. And similarly, the sign of Sagittarius is the mutable fire sign, meaning it's adaptable energy. It's kind of flying all over the place. And they can also have a tendency to overexert themselves. Leo's energy is held in, it's fixed. As my favorite teacher talks about, it's like an oven. Okay, the energy, the heat is held in. Does that mean that Leos don't overexert themselves? No, not at all. They certainly, anybody can, of course. But the sign of Leo in and of itself holds that energy in. It's a very, very energetic zodiac sign, that's for sure. Okay, so now not only that, but this sign is ruled by the sun. Okay, the brightest light in the sky, clearly. The sign of Leo has a tendency to be the brightest light wherever it goes. These people tend to stand out a little bit. We'll see a lot of lead singers of bands be Leos, that sort of thing. I always think about my father, who he doesn't mind me sharing this information. He's a Leo, but he's got a ton of Leo energy in his charts. It's not just his sun in Leo. And he's this 6'4" guy who always wears a cowboy hat, and he just always stands out, and he's always like, howdy, how you doing? It doesn't matter who it is, total stranger. How are you doing? That kind of guy. And it's just such a Leo energy. This is actually a very playful energy. Okay. In fact, all right. So Leo is represented by the lion. Okay. The lion, who's clearly very, very courageous. Lions are extremely courageous creatures, but they're also very playful. They want to enjoy their life. The sign of Leo, they want to enjoy their life. And by the way, just because somebody's sun is in Leo does not mean they're going to fit all the Leo qualities, because there's so much more to the natal chart. For an example, let's say somebody's got their sun in Leo, but when they were born, Saturn was right next to the sun. That really can change things, okay? But the sign of, if we're just talking about the sign of Leo in and of itself, it's all about life's pleasures and courage and energy. It's really kind of like the sign of royalty. I mean, the lion is, so-called the king of the jungle or the queen of the jungle. Okay. Now, also the motto for the sign of Leo is I will. Okay. This is a sign that comes through with incredible willpower and strength. Okay. Now, how have you grown in these ways? And keep in mind, this could be coming through any area of your life. Again, if you're not familiar with your natal chart, maybe you could just figure this out on your own by thinking about it. What area of my life have I developed some leadership qualities? Or have I tried to, seek pleasure in life? Now, I will mention this as well. There really is some very, very intense energies coming through here. Yes, we have this playful full moon in the sign of Leo. In fact, it's even said that a full moon in Leo is like a good time to do something that's pleasurable, do something that's fun, to work on healing ourselves. Like you'll heal better through doing playful activities with a Leo full moon rather than doing something that's like super intense and serious, that sort of thing. But this energy overall, how have you grown in these ways? But also for some people, this might, for some people, that sign of Leo, I'll just be honest here, sign of Leo is very strongly associated with ego. Okay. Now, I'm not one of those people that is encouraging people to completely drop their ego, lose their ego. I've even done silent meditation retreats where that was kind of the whole purpose of it, was to work through ego stuff and let go of the ego and that sort of thing. And it never really sat well with me. It just never really resonated with me. To me, I think we're born with an ego for a reason. And I think that it's something that can be used properly, like a tool that can be used properly. But for some people, the ego might be, a little too big. And if that's the case, maybe you've been a little too courageous. Maybe you've been trying to stand out too much. Maybe you've been trying to, always be the one that always be the center of attention, that sort of thing. So if that's the case, you might want to consider letting some of that go when this moon begins to wane. Okay, but really, really powerful energies come through here. And again, I don't want to sound repetitive, but it's true. There's so much intense energy coming through. It might be really difficult for some people to be finding the pleasures in life right now. And I think it's really important that we do. I really do. I think that's something that most of us really could work on, even myself. I will definitely admit that, but I'm a little bit of a workhorse. Okay, so there's that sign of Leo. I hope that made sense to you. I'm going to go ahead and pull up the chart here. So for those of you who are new to my recordings, what I work with is geocentric Western astrology. So with that said, what we're looking at here is a snapshot of the tropical zodiac at the time of this full moon. Now with geocentric, we put Earth right here in the middle of this thing. These guys right here are the symbols for the celestial bodies, for the planets, okay? Like here's Venus, and here's Mercury, here's Mars, here's Pluto, here's the sun, here's Saturn. When we go in the wheel just a little ways, these are the zodiac signs, the symbols or the glyphs for the zodiac signs that all these things are going to be beaming through onto Earth at the time of this full moon. So let's start with the moon. Here's the moon right here. The symbol for the moon is really easy because it just looks like a moon, just looks like a crescent moon. And this right here is the symbol for the sign of Leo, technically called a glyph. Okay, this is what I'm talking about in your natal chart. What you'd want to do is, there's so many different websites for calculating your natal chart for free these days. You'd want to go to a website and figure out your natal chart. Again, you have to know approximately what time you were born, at least preferably knowing exactly what time you were born. But if you know within an hour, max 2.5 hours, then you might want to schedule a reading with a real professional astrologer where we can help you, finely tune your time of birth. But if you do know what time you're born, you can calculate your natal chart and look for that symbol. Okay, and here's a little slightly bigger version of it. Look to see in your natal chart which one of these things that looks like a slice of pie that symbol for the sign of Leo is, and then learn about what the energy is of that slice of pie, that house, okay? Like for an example, this right here would be the house of home. This right here would be the house of communication. This right here would be the house of money and values, okay? So there's that. Now, okay, 5 degrees Leo. This is in the first decan of that Leo energy. So it's pretty pure, powerful Leo energy coming through here. And if we look across the chart, exactly opposite the moon is the sun. Okay, this is always going to be the symbol for the sun. And that's coming through 5 degrees Aquarius. These little tiny numbers here, those are the minutes. This specifically takes place, if we're going to get really down to the nitty gritty here, it's at 5, the full moon is at 5 degrees and 15 minutes, Leo. And we see the sun is at 5 degrees, 15 minutes Aquarius. Now, this is what happens every single time we have a full moon. It means the sun and the moon are exactly opposite each other in the zodiac. Okay, that's in part why full moons are so incredibly powerful, because we got the two brightest lights in the sky facing each other. Okay, now, so happy solar return to all you Aquariuses out there, solar return season anyway. I happen to really enjoy this energy as well. The sign of Aquarius is kind of like the rebellious, revolutionary, humanitarian genius, okay? The sign of Aquarius. One of my dearest friends is an Aquarius, and I also have 2 siblings who are Aquariuses, so I'm quite familiar with this energy. And it's it's a trippy one. The sign of Aquarius is, and I kind of giggle sometimes because throughout my career, people will be like, "So guess my zodiac? Can you guess what my zodiac sign is?" And if I can't figure it out, if I'm sitting there going like, "Oh, it's not Cancer, no, that's not working." If I can't figure it out, I'm like, you know what? It's probably an Aquarius because it's like you can seriously have a room full of 10,000 Leos in a room, and you could see the similarities between them. You could have 10,000 Pisces in a room and see the similarities. You could have 10,000 Cancers in a room, see the similarities. 10,000 Virgos in a room, you can see the similarities. You could have 10,000 Aquariuses in a room, and they're all totally unique from each other. It's like the sign of being unique, but at the same time, it is the humanitarian. The sign of Aquarius, generally speaking, will tend to do really well with working in groups. And it doesn't matter how unique each one of those people is in that group from each other. You know, we could have like the elderly lady and the kid with the skateboard, and then the punk, and then whatever, just random group of people come together to promote acts of humanitarianism. That's very Aquarius energy. And I say genius because this sign is very strongly associated with science and inventions and things like technology, electricity. Okay, it's like the sign that's kind of ahead of the game. The motto for the sign of Aquarius is I know. And so we're all receiving that energy as the sun goes through the sign of Aquarius. But what's really wild is that just a couple of days ago, here's Pluto right here. Okay, the sun was creeping up because Pluto moves very, very slowly. Okay, Pluto takes approximately 248 years to go around the whole zodiac. The sun goes around the zodiac every year. Okay, so the sun's creeping up to Pluto some of this is going to go over a lot of people's head, but for those of you who understand what I'm talking about, this Pluto was at 29 degrees and 59 minutes. I mean, it doesn't get any more anoretic than that. Like, that's really, really powerful stuff. Pluto was at that degree, and the sun caught up to it. And basically, right at that moment, we had an exact trine over to the moon at 29 degrees and 59 minutes. Pluto, sorry, let me say this again. Pluto was at 29 degrees and 59 minutes Capricorn. Okay, over here is Capricorn. Over here is Aquarius. I hope I said that properly the first time. But so Pluto was right at the end of this sign of Capricorn, 29 degrees and 59 minutes. And then the sun catches up to Pluto at exactly 29 degrees and 59 minutes Capricorn. And then the moon moves into 29 degrees, 59 minutes Taurus, which was an exact trine between the sun and Pluto right next to each other, and the moon making this very, very, very strong connection. Not only that, but the moon's waxing, so it's getting bigger. It's just really, really strong energy. And I'm watching this all go down. I'm like, I honestly, I mean this. I didn't expect something big to happen just as a collective, but it was very interesting to watch it unfold. I've been knowing that this was going to happen for a couple months here. And I'm thinking to myself, the sign of Capricorn comes through in my natal chart, comes through the house of finances. Okay. The second house of money. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, well, hopefully I'll be empowered with, financial abundance or something. Well, right as this transit occurs, I get a notification on my phone from my bank saying fraud alert. It's so ridiculous. Astrology just doesn't lie. It was just so ridiculous. Everything's okay. But yes, somebody broke into my bank account and I had to cancel all my cards. It was kind of a nightmare, but at the same time, I had to giggle about it because I just couldn't believe how spot on it was. It's like everything's in the danger zone and it's just wild. So anyway, that's one thing. I know a lot of people, I'm not kidding you. I have family members, friends, all kinds of people texting me over the last week going, what is going on? Like, what is going on? There's astrologically, is there something that people are going through a really hard time? My friends are calling me crying, their dog is dying, or whatever it was, just all kinds of really intense energies going on. That was the sun creeping up to Pluto at this anoretic degree in the sign of Capricorn. So that's one thing that's been going on. Hallelujah, by the time this full moon hits, that sun will be a little further past Pluto, so it won't be so powerful. But there's that. And just so I'm clear here, Pluto is powerful. Okay, Pluto is sometimes referred to as the planet of power. Pluto in Greek mythology is the ruler of the underworld. Okay, very aggressive energies we receive from Pluto. Personally, I'm fascinated by Pluto. Like when somebody's got Pluto near their ascendant, near their rising sign, I totally dig it. I'm like, oh my God, because you can see Pluto come out of them. You can see that very mysterious energy from Pluto ooze out of people who've got Pluto on their ascendant. And they could be very powerful people, kind of aggressive when they need to be kind of people. But it's So Pluto, again, takes 248 years to go around this whole zodiac. So when Pluto changes a zodiac sign, it's a very big deal. Okay, sometimes Pluto will take up to 30 years to go through a zodiac sign. Well, Pluto's been going through Capricorn since 2008, and just these few days ago, Pluto went boop and moved into that sign of Aquarius directly after that whole thing that I was just talking about, what happened with my bank account. Pluto moves into the sign of Aquarius. And now, this is, I mean, I'll probably make a whole video about this, but here's the deal. Pluto's actually only going to be in Aquarius for a few months, but then he's going to retrograde back into Capricorn one more time. He's already done it, but he's going to do it again. And then I think it's the end of November or December of this year, 2024, that Pluto will finally be in that sign of Aquarius for the next 20 years, all the way to 2044. And I think we should be expecting some extremely powerful stuff, changes, transformation going on with all of humanity, especially things that have to do with technology, you know, transhumanism, especially the AI, artificial intelligence, intertwining with humans. Like it's actually a little freaky. For me, for my own self, I want to stay human. I don't want to be messing around with, I maybe at some point in my life might get curious about the AI and try to understand how it works or something, but I just, you know, when it comes to designing my website or whatever it is, doing a write-up, I personally would rather just do it myself than use the AI systems. I know a lot of people are, and nothing against it. It's just, I want to stick with my own brain stimulation. But that's something to just be mindful of, is there's going to be some major changes going on involving probably electricity and technology over these next 20 years with Pluto, the bringer of powerful transformation going through that zodiac sign of Aquarius. Okay, so there's that. Now, where should we go next? Let's talk about the strongest aspect coming off of this full moon. So this right here is Jupiter. Okay, Jupiter is the great benefic. Jupiter is the one who brings abundance, but he's also the great expander. Jupiter will just expand the energies, make them a bigger deal. And what we see is a very, very strong T-square. Here's the moon, here's the sun. We see this red line coming from the sun to Jupiter, and we see this red line coming from the moon to Jupiter. Those are both squaring Jupiter. And then we've got the opposition, of course, between the sun and the moon. The combination of those aspects is very, very strong. This is just a 1 degree orb, really. So Jupiter's kind of just overall making this full moon an even bigger deal. Okay, it's making it more powerful. For some people, it could be an incredible peak of some incredible growth cycle. For some people, it really, really could be. I mean, honestly, if you've got anything in your natal chart near 5 degrees Leo, and when I say near, I'm going to use a smaller orb. Let's go between 3 and 7 degrees Leo, or between 3 and 7 degrees Aquarius, or between, let's go with 3 and 9 degrees Taurus. If you've got something in those placements in your chart, this could be a very, very powerful full moon for you. In fact, I would just be mindful with your energy. And on that note, if you've got any, I just gave a reading to a lady yesterday whose sun is at 1 degrees Aquarius. And I was just like, what's going on with you? I want to hear about it, because I knew she must be getting hit with a lot of really big changes in her life. And she certainly is. And I say that because if you have something near between 0 and 3 degrees Aquarius in your natal chart, if Pluto's coming up to that thing, and you definitely could be expecting like complete psychological changes going on in your life. It depends on where it is in your natal chart, but that's a powerful, especially because as soon as when anything, whatever it is, sun, moon, Venus, whatever it is, moves first into a zodiac sign, so it's at 0 degrees, that is like the purest, most powerful form of that particular zodiac sign. Basically 0 degrees, kind of going all the way up to 2.5 degrees, and then 28 and 29 degrees are very, very powerful degrees of the zodiac in any zodiac sign. Okay, so there's that. I'm really throwing some, probably some of this is going over a lot of people's head, but for those of you who are able to keep up with it, good job. Like seriously, bravo, because I get super excited when people like learning astrology. I just love it so much. Okay, now let's talk about Venus first up here. And talk about the sign of Capricorn. Venus is going through Capricorn. And I'll say this, Venus is kind of struggling at the time of this full moon, which is a little bit of a shame because Venus is the influencer of love and beauty and harmony and everybody getting along. And Venus can represent a female in our life other than mother. Mother would be the moon, but a sister, a best friend, whatever, a neighbor who's a female. Any art, like beautiful music, Venus has rulership over. And she's at 2 degrees Capricorn for this full moon. Now, there's nothing wrong with Venus and Capricorn. If you've got in your chart, that there's definitely some qualities that can come from that. What I notice is that people kind of ambitiously go after what they're attracted to when their Venus is in Capricorn. Not always, but that's definitely something that can happen. But she struggles here in this zodiac sign. She's not technically like debilitated, but the reason why she has a hard time in Capricorn is because, like I said, she's beauty and art and, you know, just very soft energy. Capricorn is like the sign of work. Capricorn's about structure and responsibilities and discipline, and Capricorn energy can actually be kind of rigid. And so Venus just doesn't get to flow the way that she wants to going to this sign of Capricorn. And not only that, but for this full moon, this brown line that goes from here to here, that's Venus making what we call an inconjunct or quincunx with the moon, meaning they can't really integrate. Venus is already struggling in a zodiac sign that she doesn't necessarily flow so easily in. And she can't integrate with the full moon energy. So that's, you know, depending on how this is hitting your chart, for some people, this might be weird for relationships, or maybe some people just aren't feeling as beautiful or something. It can influence so many different things, especially if you've got something near 2 degrees Capricorn in your natal chart. Okay, so there's that. Now, let's get into these guys. This is what I really wanted to talk about. So let's start with Mercury. Okay, so here's Mercury also going through the sign of Capricorn, which personally, I like Mercury in Capricorn. That's not his favorite place to be by any means, but Mercury rules our mental function. Okay, Mercury is the ruler of how we receive information. You're receiving information right now as I'm talking. Okay, and Mercury's taking that information in and he's finding a way to file it somewhere into your consciousness so that when you want to tell somebody else about this information, Mercury can go in and find that file and bring it back out for you to communicate. Mercury's the messenger of the gods. Okay. Fascinating character to study. But in Capricorn, I like it because it's like Mercury can be structured. He could be like, okay, well, this file goes there. Be disciplined with his mental function. And then here we have Mars going through the sign of Capricorn, but that's a great place for Mars. Mars loves to be in Capricorn. Mars is exalted in Capricorn. The reason for that is because Mars is fast and furious. Okay, Mars is aggressive. Mars is when you like hear a muscle car start up, it's like that's Mars energy, is really fast and again furious energy. Mars is considered the planet of war. Mars is great. We need Mars. Mars rules our adrenals and our muscles. Okay, but in the sign of Capricorn, Mars can't just, you know, when you think about somebody going to battle, like just, you know, they're going to fight in a battle just without even thinking about the repercussions of getting injured, that's Martian kind of energy. Talking about Mars, when I say Martian, that's Martian kind of energy. Well, in Capricorn, Capricorn's like, whoa, buddy, slow down. We need to be a little more strategic about this battle that we're going into. We need to plan this out. We need to take this in step by step by step, but at the same time in that aggressive, ambitious way. That's in part why Mars is stoked to be in the sign of Capricorn. But what we have going on here is Mercury and Mars so close together. In fact, I believe it's on January 27th, just a couple of days after this full moon, that they will be exactly conjunct. Mercury will actually jump over Mars somewhere around 7 o'clock in the morning Pacific time on January 27th. That's something, if you have something in your chart near especially if it's like right on 15 degrees Capricorn, say, let's say 13 to 17 degrees Capricorn, there could be a very, depending on what it is, but especially if it's Mercury or your sun or your moon, these things can create. Mars and Mercury don't like to be next to each other. I don't think Mars minds so much being next to Mercury, but Mercury doesn't like Mars next to him because it's too fiery, it's too stimulating, it's like aggressive. It hits the nervous system with frustration, that sort of thing. Mercury has a huge influence on your nervous system, and Mars is so hot and aggressive that it's like it's a frustrating stimulation. It's nice that it's at least in Capricorn, because Capricorn's like, whoa, come on, man. We like to take things slow around here. We like to burn earth sign. We like to be grounded. But it's still there. And it's something to be mindful of. And personally, when it comes to if I'm experiencing, I don't have any planets in the sign of Capricorn, but if this was something in my chart or hitting something in my chart, what I would be doing is I would be using blue kyanite, which is, I should have grabbed some, I didn't. It's a light blue stone that's super protective, okay? Because the blue kind of, it cools it down, okay? Almost like kind of a Saturnian influence where it kind of cools it down and slows it down. Another one would be lapis lazuli. But if you don't have those things, that's perfectly okay. I mean, honestly, even just like an earth tone mineral, something like that. And if you don't have anything like that, hops is really good for the nervous system. There's a million things we can do to help keep our nervous system, intact. But then also, let's say you don't have any of those things, just envisioning like a blue light around yourself. Maybe preferably like kind of a lighter blue light around yourself. In fact, I just felt that as I said that can create that like kind of calming, cooling effect. Okay, so there's that. And not only that, but these guys are squaring. In fact, Mars is exactly squaring Chiron. My goodness, these guys, these red lines that go down here to Chiron in the north node, we'll talk about those guys right now, just kind of making that even more stimulating and more forceful. Okay, so north node going through Aries. North node is the pump that pumps the celestial energy into Earth, okay? And it's aggressive in the sign of Aries, because Aries is ruled by Mars, okay? Aries is the warrior of the zodiac, the sign of self. And that north node coming through that sign of Aries is, again, that kind of brings even more activity to what's going on up here with Mars and Mercury. But we've also got Chiron here. So Chiron, the wounded healer, going through the sign of self, approaching over these next couple of months, I think it might be the next 3 months or so, Chiron and the north node will come exactly together. That's the wounded healer, okay, coming through the sign of self right next to, meaning working with, that pump that brings celestial energy in. So we're receiving a lot of that Chiron energy at this time. Again, going through the sign of the warrior, let's heal ourselves. Okay. Now also, and trust me, I know it's especially, I'm not a winter person. Some of you know this about me. I do not do well in winter. Every single January, February, I'm like, oh, come on, spring, come on, Aries season. But that's just something I got to deal with. I just don't feel as much vitality as I do when it's summertime. That's just me. And taking into consideration, I know a lot of other people like that. And all these other like really strong energies that we're receiving. In fact, just this morning, a thing that I had to handle with my bank, I had to call, anything that I had automatic payments to, I had to call and say, oh, that's not going to work. I had to cancel the card. Da, da, da. And so the guy on my cell phone provider, or the company, the cell service provider, he says, when I'm getting off the phone, he says, you take care in these challenging times. And I was like, what? You're a phone company, but whatever. It was nice to hear somebody. It seemed like it was an authentic thing to say from him. But anyway, I know a lot of people are really going through some tough stuff. I absolutely get it. But just pay attention that it's not like this is going to heal us overnight. It takes some time, and it takes where focus goes, energy flows. We put our energy towards, the healing, whatever it is that you want, they go after it. Okay, enough rambling there. All right, where are we going next? Let's go on up here to Saturn. Saturn going through Pisces. So Saturn going through Pisces till I think it's either the end of February or maybe March of 2026. Basically, another couple of years. We've got Saturn going through Pisces, which is not the most ideal transit because Saturn is rigid and cold and kind of harsh. Okay, and Pisces is like the sign of fluidity and spirituality and mysticism, and Saturn going through Pisces can honestly, for some people, if this is hitting some in your chart, it can like bring the sorrows of the world into our real conscious awareness. Okay, so that's something else to be paying attention to. Do you have anything in your chart that's near 5 degrees Pisces? Depending on what it is, if it's Venus, it might be all right. But if it's something like your sun, if your sun is near 5 degrees Pisces, you might just be feeling like the world is kind of closing in on you, sort of thing. But the qualities of this transit can definitely enhance the ability to take our spiritual practices to like be disciplined with them. Okay, because Pisces is the sign of spirituality and Saturn wants us to be disciplined. Okay, so there's that. Neptune is also going through Pisces. Neptune, this is going on for another couple of years as well. Neptune rules Pisces. This is, very flowy, mystical, spiritual energy. I just gave a reading to a friend last night whose moon is the moon in her natal chart is at very close to this, very close to. So Neptune in Pisces is right on her moon in Pisces. And she was like, she said she has a really hard time like putting herself into the physical realm right now. She's just like, all I want to do is just be in the land of mysticism. And she's actually a Taurus. She's a very grounded and practical person, but she's experiencing this hyper mystical transit. So that's another one to look out for. Do you have anything in your natal chart near 25 degrees Pisces? Okay, so let's see here. Let's go talk about Uranus, and then we'll talk about the South Node, and then we will wrap this up. Okay, so Uranus is another one, another couple of years. Uranus is in Taurus basically till 2026. I think he peaks into Gemini briefly in 2025, but then goes back into Taurus. So Uranus, if you remember me talking about the sign of Aquarius being like kind of a berserker energy. It's a wonderful energy, but it's progressive, it's futuristic, it's comes up with ideas. It's like the sign of inventions, okay? That comes from Uranus. Uranus is one of Aquarius's rulers. And Uranus, that's what Uranus influences, is revolutionary changes, technological changes. Okay, now going through the sign of Taurus, Taurus is a sign of money, material possessions, values, agriculture, food. Okay, so there's obviously some very abrupt changes going on with those things. And I think it's going to get really strong in April and May, because what's going to happen here is Jupiter is going to come up and conjoin with Uranus. Again, Jupiter is the one that makes things a bigger deal. So there's that. All right, now let's see if I can make myself smaller here so I can show you the South Node. There we go. All right, so here we have the South Node going through Libra. This is not my favorite transit either, because the South Node is the drain point. The South Node is what takes energy away. Well, Libra is the sign of balance and harmony and charm and relationships, and it's such a lovely energy. It's actually the sign of like justice. Okay, so we've got the drain point going through the sign of justice in the same year that we are having an election. So that should be very, very interesting to see how that unfolds. The South Node will be in the sign of Libra for another year till January of next year, and the North Node will be in Aries until January of next year as well. You might want to look to see if you got anything in your chart near 18 degrees Libra, because you might be experiencing a transit where something's trying to pull something away from your life, depending on what house it is in your natal chart and what other kind of aspects are going on. Okay, so I'm going to leave that there. Now, let's talk about body parts. So the sign of Leo rules the heart, obviously a very important part of our body. Okay, so we definitely want to pay a little extra attention to our heart. Make sure, as even just the heart chakra. I mean, even just like leafy greens can be so good for the heart. Maybe a fresh pressed green juice or something like that. But also Hawthorn can actually relax the arteries of the heart, and Motherwort can help to really relax the whole cardiac system. But I'm not a doctor and I'm not offering any kind of medical advice whatsoever, but these are the things that I will be just dabbling in, probably make some tea with those things on the night of this full moon to help support my heart. Leo also rules the spine and also has a huge, like right behind the heart, like the back, but behind the heart is also very Leo energy. So if you've got back problems going on, you might want to be really, really careful with that. You got spine issues, you might want to be really careful with that. Leo also has a little bit of an influence on the gallbladder. We've had a lot of gallbladder stuff going on astrologically because there's other zodiac signs, and even Jupiter has a little influence on the liver. So if you got gallbladder, if you have gallbladder issues, you might want to be very careful during this very powerful full moon. Okay, so gemstones. So the dedicated zodiacal birthstone for the sign of Leo is a ruby. So I put on my grandmother's ruby today, which is set in gold, and Leo, the metal for Leo is gold. This is like the most perfect ring for me. This is nothing I would ever, if I didn't know anything about astrology, medical astrology or gemstones or anything like that, this is not a ring I would be like, ooh, I'm going to buy that thing. That thing's gorgeous. But it turns out that it's like the perfect combination of minerals for me. When you understand medical astrology and working with gemstones and applying it to my own natal chart, a lot of that has to do with the fact that my Saturn is in Leo in the 9th house. Rubies, if you just think about the Leo energy, it's big, it opens things up. It's about vitality. It's about pleasure. It's about fun. It's about light. Okay. That's what a ruby does. In fact, ruby really is the sun's stone. Like in the Upaye system, rubies belong to the sun. And again, the sun rules the sign of Leo. Clearly, obviously, not everybody's got a ruby laying around. But if you, and if you're curious about this stuff, we can always go through this in an astrology reading. If you want to know what gemstone would be perfect for you and what kind of metal should be set in and that sort of thing. But I would say ruby could be kind of, unless you've already got a ton of Leo energy in your natal chart, because it might be like too much. Might even boost up the ego too much or something like that. So you might want to be a little mindful of that. But I'd say for most people, a ruby could be really good. But again, I know rubies are a little pricey, but you can get, this is an opaque ruby, which much, much more affordable, especially if you get just a raw chunk of opaque ruby. It's really not that expensive. If that's something that you really want to bring into your life, if you're really digging this ruby kind of energy, this sun energy, this Leo energy. Okay, so there's that. Obviously, again, not everybody's got those laying around. There's plenty of other stones that resonate well with the sign of Leo. The first one I'm going to bring out here, this is citrine. Now, citrine, usually you're going to see it in more like a yellow color, which can even kind of be a more affordable sort of, if you, I really, really, really want a yellow sapphire, but they're very expensive. At least the really high quality ones are. And that's Jupiter's stone, by the way, Jupiter, the great benefic. But yellow or citrine, when they're yellow, can be kind of like a substitute. That's the word I'm looking for, a substitute for a yellow sapphire. Citrine is a wonderful stone. Okay. So this resonates well with the sign of Leo, but it also it's Jupiterian. Again, Jupiter is the great benefic, and citrine is a wonderful stone. Especially if you've got Leo ruling your second house, your house of money, material possessions, and values. I generally work with citrine when I'm trying to boost up, finances. Okay, so there's that. Another one here, this is a labradorite. And part of the reason I wanted to bring labradorite out is because it's kind of like a different vibe than the ruby and citrine, but it resonates super. Look at that. This is one of the most beautiful stones in the world, in my opinion. And there's nothing else like it. Like there's nothing that even comes close to labradorite. Such an incredibly beautiful stone. This one's kind of particularly good for communication. So with that said, if you've got the sign of Leo coming through your third house, your house of communication, or maybe your Mercury is in Leo. Mercury, again, messenger of the gods. Labradorite could be a really, really good one to sit with. But again, there's all kinds of stones. Amber also resonates well with the sign of Leo. Tiger's eye and tiger's iron. Again, you'll find a full extensive list in the description below. Okay, so I'm going to leave that there. Again, if you would like to schedule an astrology reading, please do visit erinwageastrology.com. I do hope to hear from some of you. And until next time, namaste to all of you.